section 5.8, our objective today is I can solve equations and inequalities having fractional coefficients. We're going to start out with just examples. So our first example is x squared over 9 minus x over 6 minus 1/2 equals 0. Now we say that these have fractional coefficients because this could also be written as 1/9 x squared minus 1/6 x minus 1/2 equals 0. And so these coefficients are fractions, so that's why we say we have fractional coefficients. The object here is to get rid of the fractions by multiplying by the least common multiple of 9, 6, and 2. So the least common multiple of 9, 6, and 2 is 18. So we're going to take the whole equation and multiply it times 18. So we're going to do 18 times x squared over 9 minus 18 times x over 6 minus 18 times 1/2 equals 0. Now reduce, so we get 2x squared minus 3x minus 9 equals 0. And now we have a quadratic equation, and so now we want to factor that. So because we have the leading coefficient, we multiply the 2 times the 9, so it gives us negative 18. And we want to know what multiplies to negative 18 but adds up to a negative 3. So that's going to be negative 6 and positive 3. So because we multiply by the leading coefficient, we're going to replace the negative 3x with what it came from. It came from a negative 6x and a positive 3x. Then because we have 4 terms, we're going to group. Then we're going to look for common factors. So in the first parentheses, a common factor of 2x. In the second parenthesis, there's a common factor of 3. And then the common factor is x minus 3. So this is gone, this is gone. That leaves us a 2x plus 3. Now we set each factor equal to 0. And solve for x. So add 3 to both sides. Subtract 3 from both sides. And divide by 2. So the two values of x that will make the equation true are 3 and negative 3/2. Right? So let's look at a second example. Example 2. I have x plus 1 over 3 plus x minus 1 over 6 equals 2x plus 1 over 2. First thing we want to do is notice that we have binomials, so we want to put those in parentheses. The next thing we want to do is we want to look at the denominators, and we want to figure out what is the least common multiple of 3, 6, and 2. That's going to be 6. So we're going to multiply the whole equation by 6. So this is going to be 6 times x plus 1 over 3 plus 6 times x minus 1 over 6 equals 6 times 2x plus 1 over 2. Now we're going to reduce each one. So the first one, the 3 goes into both of them, so we have 2 times x plus 1. 6 reduces here, so we have plus x minus 1 equals 2 goes into 6 3 times, so we have 3 times 2x plus 1. Now it's just a matter of solving, simplifying and solving. So distribute to remove parentheses. There's a 1 here, so distribute that. Distribute the 3. On this side, collect like terms. So we have 3x, and we have a 2 and a negative 1, so that leaves plus 1. Get all our x's on one side. So I'm going to subtract 6x from both sides. Get our x by itself. And divide by negative 3. Okay, so our solution is negative 2/3. So negative 2/3 is the one value of x that will make that equation true. Now let's look at an inequality. So example 3. Let's look at x minus 14 over 4 is greater than or equal to 5x over 12 minus 3. Now let's make that 3 a fraction. It's really 3 over 1. So then we look at the denominators, 4, 12, and 1. And what's the least common multiple of 4, 12, and 1? Well, that's going to be 12, so we're going to multiply the whole inequality by 12. So we're going to take 12 times x minus 14 over 4, and 12 times 5x over 12 minus 12 times 3 over 1. So now we reduce. So 4 goes into 12 3 times, so I have 3 times x minus 14 is greater than or equal to 12 goes into 12 once, so we get 5x, and nothing reduces here, so we just get 12 times 3. Distribute the 3 here, so that's 3x minus 42 . Okay, move my x's to the left-hand side. Add 42 to both sides. And we're going to get negative 2x is greater than or equal to positive 6. Now we want to divide both sides by negative 2. And remember, in an inequality, if you multiply or divide by a negative, you have to flip the inequality. So we're going to get x less than or equal to negative 3. So on a number line, that's an open circle on, oh, I'm sorry, it's a closed circle because it's an equal, and less than or equal to is to the left. And so our solution is all x such that x is less than or equal to negative 3. Okay, so remember, with inequalities, your solution requires a number line and the solution set. But the process is exactly the same. Now we also have what are called, well, we have some word problems to do also. So example 4. How much pure alcohol must be added to 15 ounces of a 60% solution of rubbing alcohol to change it to a 70% solution. All right, so I like to kind of set this up as a picture. Okay, so we have some container that has pure alcohol, so it's 100% alcohol. And we don't know how much of that we want to use, so that's going to be our x. Then we have another container of 60% solution, and in that container is 15 ounces. So we're going to combine these two, and the way we combine things in math is by adding. And we want that to come out to a solution that's 70%, and I'm going to pour these two together so that in this last container I'm going to have x plus 15 in that container, right? So this multiplied by this plus this times this equals this times this, right? But remember that with percents we change them to decimals, so 1% as a decimal is 1, 60% as a decimal is 0.6, and 70% as a decimal is 0.7. Or we could say 0.60 or 0.70, okay? Then we set up our equation. So multiplying these two together, I get 1x, plus multiplying this together, I get 0.60 times 15 equals 0.70 times x plus 15. Now this is a fractional coefficient because these decimals could be written as fractions. That's why this is still in this section. Right, so now what we want to do is we want to get rid of those decimals. So let's multiply the whole equation by 100. So we get 100x plus 60 times 15 equals 70 times x plus 15. Right, and then from here it's just a matter of solving. So this is 100x plus 900 equals 70x plus 1050. Get all my x's on one side. So that's 30x plus 900 equals 1050. Get my x's by themselves. So I get 30x equals 150. Divide both sides by 30. And I get x equals 5. And that's going to be 5 ounces of pure alcohol. So remember, we have to write a sentence answer. So we would say 5 ounces of pure alcohol must be added to the 60% solution to produce a 70% solution. Right, so that's one type of problem that we would do. And another type of problem is one that involves income or interest. Okay, so example, I believe this is example 5. So example 5, we have John Gordon invested $1,000, part at 5% and the rest at 6.5%. The income from the 5% investment exceeded the income of the 6.5% investment by $1.70. How much did he invest at each rate? Okay, so this uses the formula interest is equal to principal times rate times time. Okay, so this means what we earn is equal to what we invest, how much we invest, times the rate times the time. Okay, so at 5%, we need to represent the principal, the rate, and the time. Now, this problem doesn't really talk about the time, so we're going to use 1 for time. We're going to say the principal is X, and the rate is 0.05, because 5% is 0.05. At 6.5%, well, it was a total of 1,000 invested. So we're going to take 1,000 and subtract the amount that we put at 5%. And that's going to represent how much we put in at 6.5%. And then the rate is going to be 0.065. And again, we're going to use 1 for time. Now, these multiplied together represent how much he earned at each. At each rate. Okay, so now we have to set up an equation. But remember that the amount he earned at 5% was $1.70 more than what he earned at 6.5%. So in order to set up an equation, 0.05x times 1 is going to equal 0.065 times 1,000 minus x plus $1.70. So in order to make them equal, I have to add $1.70 to that side. Then it's just a matter of solving. So we have our equation, so we're going to multiply, in this case by 1,000 because we have 3 decimal places right here. So we need to get rid of all those 3 decimal places. So this is going to be, if I distribute, it's going to be 50x is equal to 65 times 1,000 minus x plus, and I'm going to move this 3 places, so 1,700. Then distribute the 65, so I have 50x equals 65,000 minus 65x plus 1,700. Add 65x to both sides. Okay. And I'm going to add this to this, so I'm going to get 115x equals 66,700. Now divide by 115. So x equals $580. So remember, x was what he had invested at 5%. So to find out what he invested at 6.5%, we take 1,000 minus 580 is going to equal $420 at 6.5%. So we would say he invested $580 at 5% and $420 at 6.5%.